Hello, lovely friend. I am Dr. Mary Barson.
And I'm Dr. Lucy Burns.
And this is the Real Health and Weight Loss Podcast. Hello, lovely friend. Dr. Mary here, joined by the fabulous Dr. Lucy Burns. Dr. Lucy, tell me, how are you today?
Well, Mess, as you know, we had a big day yesterday. So it was one of those jobs that was on our list. It was a big job and it feels good. Like you feel satisfied when you do it, but gee, it was a big effort. So lovely friends, Mary and I yesterday, we went shopping, which is not something that we normally do. We're not big shoppers, but we need to update some of the images on our website and sort of bring them into 2024 and not 2019. And so we needed a little wardrobe update.
It was a big day. Shopping for clothes is something I very rarely do. I certainly need to do it more often than I do, if I'm honest. It's not a task that I relish, and there are a few reasons for that. Part of it is I don't overly value fashion. I don't think there's anything wrong with fashion, but I don't overly value it. But part of it also is the story in my head from, years of conditioning by society, years of body dissatisfaction. It's still there. And it makes it a bit of an arduous task trying on things. And I know that we both felt that in our own different ways, but luckily we're both in much healthier states of mind at the moment about our bodies, and our bodies are much healthier than they have been in the past as well. So, Lucy, do you reckon you could share a little bit of your story around your relationship with how you look?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got concurrent stories going. The first story is I've completely ditched diet culture. I'm not part of that movement anymore. I've let it go. I'm not interested. I know that my worth is not tied to the number of the scales, yada, yada, yada. Which is then comes to kind of a crashing halt when yesterday I'm trying on clothes going, oh my God, look, I've got a bit of a pop belly. Oh my God, I think my bum looks big in this. Oh my God, no, this is not flattering. And I realized that even though my logical brain, which I guess we would call the parent brain, my logical brain is very much on board with, your worth is not determined by, the size of your waistband. My still very deep, probably diet traumatized emotional brain has to work very hard to move past that. So yeah, so that it was confronting yesterday because again, like you, I like clothes. I wear color. I wear, I like a bit of bright, all of those sorts of things. I'm not very trendy, as in I don't think about whatever's on trend at the moment. But I also realized that I don't even necessarily know how to style clothes to make them look the best. That's something I've just got no idea about.
Yeah, it's a skill set that I don't have either.
No. The other interesting thing I learnt yesterday, and this is, it's bizarre that, so downlights, which is what most lights have these days, downlights are very, what you would call, unflattering, as in the shadows they create bring a false picture. So it actually it actually shows you in a light that is not what you look like in a dressing room, which I just, from a practical, and I guess strategic point of view these days, I cannot understand why a clothing store who is trying to sell you something has lighting which is guaranteed to make you look worse than you actually do.
Yes. I've got nothing for that one either. I don't.
No.
Yeah.
It does seem strange, doesn't it?
It
What
does.
about you,
What
Mez? What was your story?
Yeah. So my story yesterday, it was similar to yours. It's I know I'm a hottie, I'm a hottie, I'm a hottie, healthy on the inside. Um, but I'm not. I don't have this kind of perfect, aesthetically slim body that I have always believed that was required if you wanted to be, attractive. You always wanted to be perfect. And I have a pretty deeply ingrained story in my head and about this. I grew up in the 90s. Do you remember? That's a terrible word. It shouldn't even be used. I don't even want to repeat it, but I'm sort of started this, so I'm going to. But heroin chic, those models that
Mm,
were really really thin, and that was
yeah,
idolized.
like
If
waifs.
Yes, yes, and I'm sure some of them can be healthy. I'm not body shaming anybody right now. I'm patently against body shaming, but it is not necessarily a healthy ideal, particularly for those young girls. I grew up reading Girlfriend magazine, and my older sisters had Clio and Cosmopolitan, and all of the women in there had this particular really slim body type, and I didn't. I was, I had polycystic ovarian syndrome. I started gaining weight pretty young because of my
Mm,
PCOS, and was overweight as a child, overweight as an adolescent, overweight in my early adult years. And so there was a huge incongruence between what I thought I needed to be and what I was. And this gulf was
yep.
just filled with shame, absolute, just
Mm,
shame. Even I even would feel shame that I was ashamed. I didn't want to be ashamed, but I was. And I really felt like to be acceptable I had to be thin, and I wasn't. And then
yeah.
I go, yeah, and buy some clothes as an adult, looking at my not perfectly thin body, but healthy body. And all of this stuff collides in my brain as I'm there in the, I now understand, very unflattering lights of the change room. Yeah, that's right. Putting on these size 14 jeans, going, geez, they should be size 10. And I'm just
Yeah.
listening to this voice in my head going, really, should they? Should they? No, they shouldn't. But it's there. It's there. And it's unpleasant. It's uncomfortable. And it's interesting.
Indeed. Indeed. And I guess for us, we're in the health and weight loss space. So my brain is going, if I'm not perfectly thin, are people, maybe our clients, our customers, our followers, are they going to judge me? Am I going to be
Mm.
judged? Uh, and the answer, I think maybe some people will.
Mm.
And the next level for me is to go, well, I can't do anything about that. I have no influence over other people's opinion of me. That I think it's that great saying where, what other people think of you is actually none of your business, which took me a
I
little
love
while to
that.
get my head around. But yeah, it is, because there are people who will judge me, or judge us. But again, I think, well, they're probably coming from the same place that you and I came from when we
Mm.
grew up, where your weight was tied to your worth. And a couple of things have sort of been woven into this story about weight, or, fatness, whatever we want to call it. And there's two. One is that you're not attractive unless you're thin. So
Mm.
that, and I think that actually is just a bit of BS, like a lot of BS. So
Mm.
I can move past that one. We also know that healthy, you don't need to be thin to be healthy. And in fact, there's
Mm.
plenty of thin, unhealthy people. You don't need to be aesthetically perfect to be healthy. And in fact, we do know that carrying a bit of body fat is actually healthy for us
Mm.
for multiple
It's
reasons,
normal.
which we can chat about in a minute. Yeah. So it's normal. It helps us. It's protective. It's, good for our, as women, good for our bones, good for our
Mm.
muscles. But there sort of then comes this little tipping point where things start to go a bit awry, and and again, driven by our metabolic hormones, and which is, I guess, why we love the phrase healthy on the inside.
Yes.
Because in order to be healthy on the outside, it's an inside job. You have to be healthy on the inside first.
I can remember a traumatic memory that I have is when I would have been about 16 years old, and I was on music camp, played the violin in the orchestra, and I was away on this really fun camp with all of the other orchestra and band members and choir members. And I was interested in boys, I didn't have a boyfriend, but it was all that sort of exciting, interesting possibility that you want when you're that age and when you really want to fit in. And I can remember I was in the common room chatting to some boys and some girls, and this quite short boy, I didn't really know him or particularly like him very well, but he was reading like an FM magazine, a men's sort of sports magazine, and there are all these pictures of these aesthetically beautiful, touched up, photoshopped models on there, and he just looked at me and he goes, "Ugh, why can't you look like this?" I remember being so mortally wounded. I know, really awful. So, I mean, that was a very toxic encounter from someone who I hope has calmed down and is now a delightful human. I can only hope that they are. Nobody is their best, in early adolescence, usually. But that it cut me down, and I do remember feeling, I think, a lot of fear in that time. And the fear probably was around, yes, I'm not acceptable, I'm not going to be attractive, all of these sort of interesting boys around me that I'm just learning about are never going to want me. A whole lot of stories really embedded in my brain with that encounter and with countless others. It's just that one was particularly pertinent, really stuck in my head. That we have this story. Yeah. But the beautiful thing about stories is we don't have to keep them and we don't have to believe them. So I have had this story that I need to be, a beautiful size 10 to be attractive, to be wanted, to be worthy. And here I am, size 14, healthy. Does that mean that I'm okay?
Strong.
Now, strong. Yes, that's right. I am strong, pretty fast. Oh, getting faster. I'm training for a 10K. I'm getting there. Yeah, strong, clever, fast, energized, healthy, beautiful liver functions, excellent insulin results, amazing blood pressure, all of these fabulous things. And so the story that I'm actually wonderful as a healthy, strong woman in her 40s, that's another story that's there. The other story has never completely gone away. So there is still that chatter that goes on. And, and I found that a useful way to deal with that chatter as I'm there putting on my jeans, size 14, and going, oh, these actually look pretty nice. Yeah, but they're size 14. Just to notice it and to kind of lean in and just let that little chatter that, I don't know, it's either coming from that toxic 14-year-old boy or maybe it's coming from the inner 16-year-old girl, just to let it know that I'm okay. It's all right. Thank you for your concern, but I don't need you right now. For me, that is helpful.
Yeah.
It means that I can enjoy buying pretty new things without feeling that I'm unworthy and I don't deserve to have them.
Yes, exactly. It's interesting, isn't it? It was interesting. You were talking about growing up with heroin, chic, and I did too, but I'm about, a bit over 10 years older than you. So I grew up in the 80s, and Elle Macpherson was and all of them, Claudia Schiffer, all of the very tall, very long-legged supermodels, they were called. And I mean, Elle was known as the body. Like, that was her name, the body. Nobody's calling her the brains. No one's calling her the healthy liver. So we honestly,
successful businesswoman.
No, no. And she's smart. She's a
Mm,
smart woman, but
mm,
nobody knows her for that. They just know her as the body. And constantly it's all just the body, this, the body, that. And so when you're growing up as an adolescent, it's no wonder that you internalize a lot of that. And even when you think you don't, it's still there. It's,
mm,
when we talk about hypnotherapy in our programs, and people often ask, how often should I do it? And it's like, well, the more you hear the message, the more your brain will rewire. So the more you hear this, that you're only valuable or attractive if you're thin, then the more you will believe that. So I think that it is helpful these days with, again, and we've spoken about this, that body positivity movement is very helpful. You can
mm,
absolutely be attractive in a
mm,
bigger body. You can absolutely be worthy in a bigger body. You don't need to be a stick. The slightly murky waters that come is just, where does health fit in that? And
mm,
that's, I guess, where we come into play. We firmly believe that you don't need to be a stick to be healthy. It's harder for your body to be happy, not your mind, but your body, if there is, I guess, a lot of excessive fat storage, to, just put it bluntly, because usually that's an indicator that there's something going on underneath. So it
mm,
usually indicates that there's insulin resistance going on. That usually indicates that there's probably some fatty liver. That's not, again, it's not necessarily for everybody, but it would be a much more common theme. And we know that things like, joints are, it's harder for joints to last a long time if they're having to manage with, with a larger body. That's not to say that the thin person is is healthy either. Okay, and it's not to say that thin people's joints don't wear out either. They absolutely do. And in fact, for a lot of people, the thin person's joints worn out because, they're some sort of marathon runner and they're running, thousands of kilometers a year. They wear their joints out. So it's really interesting to think about the moral story behind health and weight.
mm, mm. You're somehow morally superior if you fit into a narrow body range category. And um, the other, it takes a few turns. These woods are a little dark and a little tumultuous as you are navigating this terrain of body positivity, weight loss, health, and wellness. And finding the right path with you without getting caught up in toxic traps along the way, I think it takes work and perhaps a bit of guidance. There's an art to it. But how I feel is that you can love yourself no matter what, respect yourself no matter what, know that you're worthy of love and respect no matter what, and be healthy and work towards being healthy. And
Yes.
certainly, weight loss is a piece of the health puzzle. There's really no getting around that. But that doesn't mean that there's no moral value attached to that, one way or the other. It's just a simple, true fact. And what we want for people is to be healthy. And another little
Yeah.
side to this that if you do want to lose weight, if you want the aesthetic weight loss, that doesn't make you bad. That doesn't mean that,
No.
you're letting little 14-year-old boys in your brain boss you around. That's not what that is. You're allowed to want whatever you want.
No.
But
Mm.
being true to
Yeah.
yourself, loving and respecting yourself is key.
Yeah. Yeah. And thinking about why you want that. Again, it's like, it's a bit like grey hair for women. So, I
Mm,
think most blokes get grey hair and it just goes great. A few blokes dye their hair, but the majority of people, I think, don't. Whereas for women, it's the other way. I won't say everybody gets grey hair. The majority of people develop grey hair over their lifetime. And everyone has an opinion on how long you should allow that process to happen. And some people embrace it earlier than others. And some people associate the grey hair with, letting yourself go or something. It's very strange. Again, I think at the end of the day, women can do whatever they want. You are the boss of you. One of the tricky things in our society is that women judge women as well. So men judge women. You've got, 14-year-old boys judging young girls, but women do it too. Women judge women, and it's truly unhelpful as to our gender. And I think recognizing that it's a conditioned thing. We're conditioned to do it. We're conditioned to kind of create a hierarchy and see where we fit in this hierarchy. That's part of normal, collective humanity, from tribal living. But it's not necessary, and it's not always helpful.
Yes. And so that is another thing you can work on in your own mind when you catch yourself judging other women, for the size or shape of their bodies. Be aware of it and just question it, because if you find that it's easy for you to do that to other women, then it's going to be so easy for you to do that to yourself. And the reason I think that that's a problem is because this self-judgment and this self-criticism is such a monumental, criminal waste of energy, I believe. And that life can just be so much lighter, happier, and indeed healthier if you can let it go. Just let it go. Yeah. Let it go for everyone. And, just love yourself as you are. Enjoy this glorious body that you have. Enjoy what it can do. Marvel at everybody else's glorious bodies and what they could do. And we are all just beautiful humans with this miraculous thing called life, with these amazing bodies that move us around and can do super cool stuff. And yeah, one of the super cool stuff that our bodies can do is to go down to Chadstone and, decorate ourselves with pretty fashions. That's pretty cool. I also went for a run today. That's pretty cool. Our bodies can do cool things, and we should honor them and love them and nourish them and nurture them, but don't judge them. Your body does a lot for you, and I reckon we just need to be kinder to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, as we talk a lot about healthiness, it's not about thinness. It's, there's plenty of wiggle room, or I made a little joke before about wobble room. There's a bit of wobble room. Yeah, wobble room is normal and healthy. You don't have to be a stick. Okay, so we just need to keep mindful of that. And when we find ourselves interchanging the word weight loss for health, they're not, as I said, there's sometimes some parallels, but they're not always the same thing. So gorgeous ones, we want you to be hotties. We are hotties, healthy on the inside. Hotties. Yep. We just had T-shirts made. We'll be showing them soon. You'll be seeing our healthy on the inside T-shirts. It is truly what we embrace as part of feeling good. And the whole point of being a hottie is two reasons. One, for future you, so that you can live out this glorious life. That last third of your life can be lived in a way that is easy, without pain, without medications, without suffering, but also actually for current you. Because when you're healthy on the inside, you have energy, you're not tired, you're not bloated, you do not feel blah.
Nobody wants to feel blah. Blah is bad.
No. Yeah, blah. We want to feel huzzah. So blah to huzzah is exactly what we want for you. All right, gorgeous ones, take good care of yourselves this week, and we'll be back very shortly. Bye for now.
Bye, beautiful hotties.
The information shared on the Real Health and Weight Loss podcast, including show notes and links, provides general information only. It is not a substitute, nor is it intended to provide individualized medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor can it be construed as such. please consult your doctor for any medical concerns.